Astronauts to the moon.
What's going on, everyone? Jeranism again, back with another video for you. A little opportunity to say goodbye to the magical spinning ball of gravity and bullshit. And I also want to show you some lies that they're willing to tell and what we are all willing to believe. And then last, I have a NASA nonsense video, the latest Orion re-entry, helping prove flat Earth. So it should be fun. First, I did want to point out, in case anybody didn't know, that I don't know shit, in case you didn't know that. And second, neither do you. So, with all the nonsense that we're given and taught and fed and forced to believe, my whole thing was I was going to agree to start over. And one of my rules was to remain a student, no matter what. So, in my videos, if you do see something you don't agree with or you don't believe or you have evidence against, comment and bring your evidence and let's talk about it. I'm willing to learn, willing to change my mind at any point if given the evidence that matches my perception. So that's what I'm here for. I don't care what the established belief is. I don't care what we were all taught. It doesn't matter to me anymore because human beings lie, and they lie a lot. And when money's involved, they lie constantly. So I'm not going to believe anything that anybody just says, so don't bring me any of that stupid gravity bullshit that doesn't work and people will sit there and argue back and forth with when they have no idea even what it means. And number one, it's impossible. Number two, it can't be shown to be true. You're telling me the same force that keeps my feet glued to the Earth's surface also keeps the moon in orbit around the Earth, and same thing that keeps us in orbit around the sun. That right there makes no sense. Why aren't I orbiting the Earth? Do I need to get fatter? If I get real fat like the moon, then I can orbit the Earth, or somebody needs to help me with that one. I don't get it. So don't bring that kind of stuff. Bring some actual evidence and stuff that we can actually test. So in all this, I wouldn't even say I'm a flat earther. I don't have a team. I'm not trying to get a victory here. It's not a debate like that. As all I'm doing is searching for truth and using my own eyes, which works pretty well. You should try it. Of course, you'd have to get your head out of Richard Dawkins' lap and stop masturbating to the globe. So if you get around to that and you want to join me, come on board. So why am I talking flat Earth? Well, it's because I wanted to start from a place of certainty. And to me, it's a certainty. So as of today, even though I'm certain I really don't know what the Earth is, I certainly know what it isn't. It's not a globe. And so if you ask me if I think the Earth is flat, well,
maybe I do, and maybe I do.
So if you take a look at the screen now, you'll see a interesting setup for a meeting. This is the meeting where they sign the Antarctic Treaty, and you'll notice all of these losers sitting in a triangle, and in the middle of the triangle is another triangle. Looks like the all-seeing eye. It's got some shrubbery. Could be the Earth. Could be filled with slaves that all believe a lie. Why would they want to promote this lie, these globalists? Why would they want to tell us God doesn't exist? So they can rule us, and maybe they're worshiping someone.
Could it be Satan?
Speaking of Satan, you think he's telling anybody to discredit flat Earth?
I'm open to all sorts of new ideas, maybe better ideas, to make sure that we deal with climate change in a way that promotes jobs and growth. Nobody has a monopoly on what is a very hard problem, but I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We're trying to move towards the future. They want to be stuck in the past. And we've heard this kind of thinking before. Let me tell you something. If some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail, They must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round.
Whatever you say, Osama. So let's get into some of the proofs. First, we got your magical spinning ball of fun on the screen, and you'll notice that it is the winter, and so the southern tip, or Antarctica, is pointed directly at the sun, where it remains for the entire 6 months as the Earth processes around the sun. So does anybody else realize that the tops and bottom of the globe would be where the ice caps are? But since they've tilted it now, we've got the Antarctica in the sun all the time, yet it's a huge, unimaginable, cold continent. And also, if you look at the equator, I was watching a video yesterday I thought was interesting that shows the way the water does drain on the equator and northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Yet the equator goes right through the middle of the Earth, and with the tilt, it wouldn't work that way. The equator is at an angle. So intellectuals, academia, comment, let me know. Take a look now and you'll see this is where the ice caps would be if the Earth was really on a tilt. And you'll see the red line, which represents the tilt, is where the ice caps are now, pointed directly at the sun. Makes a lot of sense, I guess, if you're stupid. I guess a lot of people have had questions about the sun as it appears to move throughout the celestial sky. If you take a look here, I drew some green sight lines from the Earth, and I put those three little squares in the back, the red, the white, and the yellow. And you'll notice that as the Earth moves, so too does our sight line, which they call parallax. So this is something that I wanted to show because it is possible that many of you globetrotters don't know what you believe. So you'll notice that easily seen there in this little depiction, the sight line moves. Next, I'm going to show you what you actually believe. You have to believe that the sight line, as shown here in the bottom left, never moves. Meaning, see all those sight lines, the blue lines that go through, we got two going through the green box, two going through the red box, and one going through the yellow. Imagine that no matter where the Earth goes, even though it travels 500 million miles around the sun, it never changes its parallax. So you'll see I just swung the Earth out a little bit to the right there and added the gray sight lines, and look how much it changes. No longer are any of the boxes being hit by the same sight line, yet in all the travels of the Earth, the stars remain exactly fixed. As Johnny Cochran would say,
it makes no sense, it doesn't fit, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Now you'll get to see some photos that clearly show you what the flat Earth looks like in the background there, until you add the GoPro camera, in which case now we live on a little tiny sphere. So this is what GoPro does for you. So when you see these kind of images, do know that they are bullshit, and they are nowhere near matching our reality. Therefore, they should all be trashed, thrown away, gotten rid of, ignored, all those fun things. Speaking of that, just one of the little proofs that people miss a lot of the time. How about micrometeoroids? Ever heard of them? They fly around space like crazy. Supposedly, a ton of them hit the Earth every year. And in order to do that, they have to go through the atmosphere. So imagine somewhere like, I don't know, the moon, that doesn't have an atmosphere to protect it. How much would it get hit by these micrometeoroids? Wikipedia tells us that the moon is hit by 10 to 20,000 tons a year. So we'll take the smaller number, just to be generous. 10,000 tons times 2,000 pounds is 20 million pounds of micrometeoroids are blasting the moon every year, which you can actually break that down and get 54,795 a day, or 2,283 an hour, 38 a minute, or about 0.63 pounds a second. But their weight is in a gram. They're only a gram, but they're going 22,000 miles per hour. Bullets go 1,500 miles per hour. So a micrometeoroid is 15 times faster. It would go right through you. And at 454 grams per pound, that means there's about 454 bullets per pound of micrometeoroid flying at you at all directions and from all directions in space. So I'm sure they were able to avoid it. I mean, it's only 24 million a day, or 1 million an hour, or 17,000 a minute, or 288 a second. So now let's see if the Apollo astronauts were good at dodging bullets. So let's see how many bullets Mr. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were able to dodge up there on the moon, Apollo 11, in between Buzz Aldrin saying that he was taking things to the moon in his pockets and selling them because he's broke and drinking too much. He had to dodge only 22.5 million bullets. Apollo 12, 32 million. Apollo 14, 34 million. Apollo 15, 69 million. And we go up from there, 75 million to 77 million in the final Apollo 17. This image here, you'll see they've got the cargo bay doors open. The astronauts are pretending to do something. And I'm sure that the inside of the Space Center really could use all those micrometeoroids flying in there at crazy speeds. I'm sure they don't damage anything. Everything's just fantastic. Oh, and speaking of Apollo, I did find an image that I think is rare. I don't think a lot of people have seen it. It is the aftermath of the micrometeoroids on one of the Apollo missions, not sure which one. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. All those just come through like bullets going right through him. So I don't know if we left him there or brought him back or sacrificed him to Belial. I don't know what we did. It's not my business. So if you ask me my feelings on NASA and GoPro, they're pretty easy. I could sum them up in a few words.
Cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit.
Yeah, I admit it. I hate him a little bit. But let's look now at an unsolved mystery. The mystery of the magical globe spinning, flying through space Earth. Join me, and perhaps you can help me solve the mystery. Once you get man to believe he can live on a globe, what else could you convince him of? That man went to the moon, perhaps, with the technology of an Etch-a-Sketch? That stars are trillions of miles away? That the Russians are your enemy? That there was a Cold War and a space race in which a shot was never fired? Could they convince them that the Arabs want you dead, and that ISIS beheads people viciously, but always turns off the camera right before, and speaks in British accents? That taxation is good, that evolution is true, that God doesn't exist, that you're not smarter than a 5th grader, that you're not a unique individual, and that you're only from supernova bits? Watch all the evidence unfold here on Unsolved Trickeries. Alright, so here we go. First image here is pretty clear to see what I'm showing. If you've ever done perspective drawing, this just shows you that the end of that bridge there at the horizon could look like a point, but the horizon is flat. We're going to take some flights now, take a look what's seen from the airplane, because if one more clown comes into the comments and tells me that they see a curve from a plane, I'm going to flip out, man. I even had some pilot come in and tell me he would take me up in the airplane and show me the curve. So I don't want to go anywhere where anybody who's a pilot is going to show me any curve that's not there. Maybe he means he's going to crash the plane or something. I don't know. But count me out, Mr. Pilot Man, since you are a lying sack of potatoes. Let's look at these images. You'll see clearly that there is a little questionable area up in the upper left there, but you'll notice that that's just the clouds and nothing more. Basically, you need to start envisioning what you believe, because if the Earth was curved, why isn't the atmosphere curved with the Earth, since it moves in conjunction with it? You'll see here I'm pointing out that this is just a layer of clouds. Otherwise, the Earth is an infinite plane, flat as could be. And so the atmosphere, which goes as high as the eye can see, would have to curve with the Earth if you guys say there's a curve, which you do say, and you do lie. But there is no curve there. It is beautiful. Now you'll see this image. Is that Jesus? Oh, I thought I saw Jesus in the clouds. But you'll see the line back here. Again, somebody might come along and say, that's curved. I could prove that's curved. Well, it's something called perspective. That maybe that point way in the back there, straight ahead from our eye view, our eyesight, our line of sight, could possibly be a little bit more than the sides. But you'll see as the plane tilts back and forth, it's flat. That is not a curve. If you want to picture that as a curve, then you need to continue that circle out. Imagine drawing that line all the way out as a circle. It would be about 100 times bigger than the Earth. Not possible. Not even a bit. Got another cool view from here. Again, if any of you see a curve there, I suggest you get your eyes checked, eat some carrots or whatever your mom used to tell you. You have vision problems. This is an infinite plane. I'm also making a video soon about my ideas when it comes to the distance that we can see. So look forward to that. It'll help you understand a little bit why we only can see as far as we do. So these are some nice images to show you. That one there clearly shows the flatness. Remember that when pilots fly, they fly by keeping even with the horizon. So again, I don't want to be in any plane with any pilot that sees a curve, or else it's probably the last flight I'll ever take. So see here, this line back here may look funky to you, but that is a straight line, flat plane, not a globe. And I have a couple images or a couple videos coming up in a bit that will show you what happens when you rise up above a curved horizon. As you see this plane taking off, watch the horizon line as it stays completely even with our eyes. There's only one way that's possible, and it's not a globe. It's because it is an infinite flat surface that never ends, at least from our perspective. That's pretty cool, that takeoff there. Now we're flying through some clouds. So if anybody's got any comments on why they still think it is a globe, which makes no sense at all, please comment and tell me, and hopefully it's not just because, well, that's what I was taught, man. I love the globe. So pretty. It spins through space. It's 1,000 miles per hour, and yeah, you can't really feel it. Well, nobody's ever felt it. Well, nobody's ever been able to test it either, and well, it's never been proven, and it's just something we all agreed on because we hate God. Don't tell me that stuff. I don't care. I'm just looking for truth, and truth is not your lies. Just because you guys put some teachers into some colleges and made some people feel smart doesn't mean that my eyes don't work anymore. And so you see I'm kind of drawing the upper edge of what would be the curve if there was a curve. Hopefully that makes sense to you, that the atmosphere doesn't end. What you guys describe as seeing a curve would mean that the ground is curved and that we're still in an atmosphere, which is just weird. So another takeoff here, you'll see, watch the horizon stay completely even with your eyesight. So you notice that, right? That no matter how high we're getting, the horizon is staying even with our eyesight. So later when you see some videos that show you what happens when you raise up above a curve, you'll see the difference. If you have a street if you live on a street that has a nice hump in it, a nice curve, or there's one in your neighborhood or one in your city, I suggest you take a camera and then go and try a little something called the scientific method. You know, experimentation. It's called testing, where you ask a question, then you research it, construct a hypothesis, test your hypothesis. You guys ever heard of this? Analyze your data, draw a conclusion. It's the way science used to be done before everybody thought they were smart. I'm really not impressed that you chose to follow science, first of all. It's not going out on much of a limb, is it? You're just basically taking what somebody else says and saying that you believe that, and it's true, until, of course, it's proven wrong, and then you say, well, that's science. Science can't prove that things are true. It just takes the best available information and comes up with a theory. Yeah, well, are you paying attention to where you're getting the theories from? That's the question. Nicholas Copernicus was not the first person to prove that the Earth goes around the sun, because it's never been proven. He simply was the first one to say it. That's it. And then, where do you guys get off in making fun of Christians and religious people when, do you know where your science came from? Do you think that there was atheists walking around preaching science 400 years ago? Do you think Copernicus was a atheist? No, these guys were Christians. Rene Descartes, Galileo, Kepler, Francis Bacon, Tycho Brahe, Newton, all these guys were Christians, and they're the ones who came up with the things that you now back and make fun of Christians with. It makes no sense. What have you done? What have you gone out on a limb and said something that's controversial? You just believe whatever you're told and walk around with your chest puffed out, acting like you're cool, commenting on my videos. Oh, you don't believe in gravity. Ha 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 ha. No, I don't believe that people are upside down on the bottom of a sphere, because it's impossible. Water always stays flat, yet you believe it curves and just tell me it curves because the center of gravity pulls the water down. Well, where's the curve? Measure it. Science, testing, experimentation. Anyway, let's get back to looking at some other proofs besides just what we're told from people who lived 500 years ago, who obviously knew nothing if they thought the sun was 3 million miles, and now you guys think it's 92. Who knows what it'll be tomorrow. Here we got Felix Baumgartner at 127,000 feet. You can look out his little window there, and what do you see? Curved or flat? It's flat. And now they switched camera views, and what is that? So it just went from flat to having the biggest arc ever seen. I mean, this is what you guys believe, and just because it has NASA written on the side of that little capsule, you guys are ready to masturbate over it. It's disgusting. So let's watch Atlantis take off from a plane. This excited me. I said, woo, I'll get to see the first thing enter space. But of course, I thought that, but I knew better to ever think that NASA would show us anything other than the same old shit they always show us. So go ahead and watch this, and let's see how the video ends. I mean, honestly, who would stop that video right there? It's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's fake. It's nonsense. I wanted to thank Immortal Souls for the next couple videos. I think they're pretty awesome, so subscribe to his channel. He's got some flat earth stuff going too. This picture here is just gorgeous. It is flat as far as the eye can see, because there is no curve, and that's obvious. Here we see a hill or a curve. You can do this in the front of your house if you've got one of these. Just take a camera and raise it from the ground level straight up, and you'll see how the horizon line drops down. You can see in every one of these. Test it yourself. Drops. This hill drops. Does anybody see that on the earth? And that is a rhetorical question, because if you say yes, then, well, you have issues. You're a parrot. You repeat what NASA says and feel good about yourself, and I don't know why. Telling lies is not cool. And here you can see on the right side is a little animation. Left side's a real video, and you can just kind of get the idea of what we mean by the sun goes so far it is out of your view. It is beyond your sight level and your perception, and that's what gives us the impression of the sun coming up in the east, setting in the west, when actually it's circling above our heads, as can be seen by many different, you can see right there, I saw the shadow of the sun in the water, yet you think we're on a spinning globe, which just doesn't make sense. Think about it. In order to see what we see in the night sky with the stars rotating in a disc-like circle, the Earth would have to do loop-de-loops throughout space. Loop, 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 jump, loop. It can't just spin on its axis, or else the stars would move in a completely parallel line, left to right or right to left. They would never do circles. Do you see us flipping upside down? Well, if you believe in gravity, you probably do believe we're flipping upside down. Look at that little box on the left, and you can see how University of California teaches lies. I'm sure this is what they show all those highly educated members of academia with their diplomas from the University of California and their sweater vest. And you'll notice that the water quickly rises in the ocean. This is another thing they should teach, I'm sure. Look how much higher that water is now compared to that brown line is when it started. So this is no proof of anything other than they edited this video and continued to move the camera lower and lower to give the impression of the boat going over the horizon, when all they did was, I guess, fill up the ocean with a bunch of water or move the camera. And you also notice that it did cut every time the boat moved further. And it also said it took 2.5 hours to move about a mile. So, bunch of nonsense. Thank you very much, clowns over there at University of California. You are definitely contributing to the nonsense filling the heads of the college students as they walk around and pretend like they're smart. And that last little slide said scientists have discovered that people will believe anything that you say scientists discovered. So keep telling us about the planet nonsensicus of the Ballonian galaxy, otherwise known as GFU 12, which lies about 75 light years away in the Horseshiticus arm of the Bullshiticus nebula. I don't know. I hear it orbits the non-testable supernova, and this is the truth, because Hubble telescope tells me so, okay? Don't argue with me.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
So you can see that all it is a mirage. It is the melting of the horizon because of the refraction, just like you see here, the mirage in the road. Or is somebody going to tell me that that yellow truck has now gone over the edge of the curved earth?
Wrong. Thank you for playing. Have a nice day. Next contestant, please.
Next we get to see Orion. All right, NASA. Spend more of our tax money on nothing.
Orion now at an altitude of 470,000 feet, 900 miles from its splashdown target. Guidance officer confirms that Orion has reached entry interface. The moment of truth for Orion for the next 9 minutes, 45 seconds.
Now, first thing that hits my brain is I understand that we have to add these special tiles to the bottom of the shuttle so that it can withstand the 400 or 4,000, 3,000 to 4,000 degrees as it re-enters the atmosphere and goes through this plasma shield or something. I mean, can't you see the person on the right-hand side of the picture with like a blowtorch? Who is this person? Who knows? Anyway, as it must be Elon Musk. Looks like a midget. So as they are re-entering, they have to angle the space shuttle so that it hits just perfectly, or else Wikipedia says it might skip, or they might fake kill a bunch of people in a shuttle disaster too. A lot of things NASA can do. Pretty amazing. But my problem with this is, how are we looking through a piece of glass? Can somebody please find me the glass that can withstand 4,000 degrees? Because I can find glass that can withstand 2,500 degrees, yet 2,500 degrees is the temperature that it's melted at.
We're 4 minutes away from the jettison of the forward bay cover at the very top of the spacecraft that will begin the chute deployment sequence.
Who calls it a chute deployment sequence? Get a grip. And do you hear these binaural beats in the background? Don't put your headphones on or you'll end up shooting up a theater in Aurora. So if this got to be 4,000 degrees, you would be melted right along with the window. Yet NASA, in all its infinite control and power and knowledge, somehow just makes it happen and makes all you people bow down and tell me how great they are and how awesome Teflon is and Tang. That's pretty cool. I guess they do a lot of important things up there at the ISS, growing vegetables. They do flips. I don't know if you've seen the girl. She'll flip the microphone for you.
And we've reacquired signal from Orion. Good data being processed.
Oh, thank God. They got good data. Honey, they got good data on the Orion. Whew, I was worried. Sweating that one out. Very amazing science going on there. So now you'll see we are back, well, almost through the atmosphere. Right now there's still some fire,
127
I don't know doing
miles,
what,
and now
attached to the
view
vehicle
from
or
Orion
not burning the window,
thrusters,
that much I know.
Maintaining control.
And in a second, you're going to see how this proves the flat Earth. Now here, you will see
Flight Dynamics Officer reports that we're tracking right down the middle.
Honey, they're tracking right down the middle! Sweet! This is going to help our lives immensely.
Orion at 125,000 feet.
Here you can see it actually looks convex. I guess Stephen Christ was right the whole time. FEMA, come pick me up. No, I'm kidding. It's certainly not a inverted introverse. It's called introverted. Here we go, flipping around. And you'll see here this is balancing out. And ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is not a globe. You know this by now. If it were, imagine the amount of pictures we'd have. If we'd been to the moon, imagine how many times we would have gone back. Imagine the condominiums and
healthy thruster system reported by the propulsion officer here in Mission Control.
Yes! Yes! I was worried about that propulsion system. Instead, we just stopped going and everybody keeps believing because they don't want to cry when their globe's taken away and they realize that they're not just one of a zillion planets with life. There's only the Earth.
Range to splashdown about 5 miles.
Bravo, NASA. Bravo. Honestly, was there anything impressive about what we just saw? I thought the CGI graphics were horseshit. So, just some crap Wikipedia sites. And 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it says, is the temperature at the re-entry, even though the announcer said 4,000. We'll take 3 to 4,000, let's say. And I have there the Vicor glass, which is the only thing that I'm guessing they used that we saw through, although it only can go up to 2,500 degrees, and at that temperature it melts, so who knows. Then they've got a bunch of BS materials, you know, reinforced carbon, that exists. Fibrous refractory composite insulation. We've got toughened unipiece fibrous insulation. We've got Made-Upica, Stupidica ceramic tiles. All kinds of good stuff. Even though the outside surface of the shuttle could not withstand higher than 347 degrees. And if you look at the bottom there, it says that the tiles had to be glued on. Yes, you heard me correctly. Glued. You know, that kind of glue that can withstand 4,000 degrees. I think it's called Elmer's. And lastly, we see that each one of the tiles took 40 hours. Yes, you heard me correctly. 40 hours. Alrighty, so to summarize, recap, do your research, test that horizon of a curve, grab your camera, go hit that up, post a video, and get in a plane and go fly, and stop saying you see a curve when there isn't one there. It's as flat as that girl Justin Bieber. And you also don't see boats going over the horizon, so stop saying that. And you aren't impressive just because you repeat stuff and parrot for NASA. Note, you're watching a flat Earth video, Mr. Intellectual. Lastly, thanks for watching. This is Jeranism. Reminding you again, open your mind. There's truth inside. Don't lie to each other. Peace.